Best Irish music on irishradio.org with Jerry Byrne.
I'm Jerry Byrne, Irish Radio. It is over the months since the lockdown and all the rest of us, speaking to the great and the good of music and entertainment. I've got a lass who's been incredibly successful for many, many years. A rather interesting story. When she was a child, she moved with her family to England and to London. And later years, after 33 years, she went back to Ireland. Now, she's got a single out for the Christmas, a lovely one indeed it is too. It's called On Christmas Eve. I'm delighted to say hello to Carmel McCreagh. Carmel, how are you?
I'm well, thank you for calling.
A real pleasure.
I'm good.
Listen, a fascinating story. You left Tipperary when you were just a child.
Well, I did, but I was leaving Tipperary, I thought, just to bring my daddy home because he was in England and very unwell, very sick, in fact. And went over with my mum to collect him and bring him home and hopefully get him on the mend. And I was 10 and thinking I'd gone for a couple of weeks. And I came back 33 years later because he recovered in England and we all ended up staying there. So there you have an interesting tale. Indeed
so. And it's amazing, like that. He basically, your dad went basically. He was an economic migrant.
Oh yes, my parents were economic migrants. I'm very aware of what it's like to be a migrant. You know, in the days when my parents went to London, they might as well have been going to Canada. You know, people didn't. In later years, we got home for our annual holiday, but at the beginning, we didn't always. And like most people, and I think my dad survived in England because my mum finally went. I mean, I think a lot of men, particularly on their own, went, and leaving a lot of women alone. And I think some of them suffered for that. We didn't know it was called depression then, but I think a lot of them had that situation, being alone, being foreign, trying to fit in. It was a difficult life, I think, for some people.
Indeed so, definitely, yeah. Definitely was, and numerous anecdotal tales, stories and books told off it, and told off the whole situation, you know, which was very, very sad.
Oh, terribly sad. And you know, we thought that's the crash of 2008, because by then we had a great economy, doing well. Our children were born here, grew up here, went to school here, thought their lives were here, and then it all came crashing down. And I was very aware then of friends, children slightly older than mine, getting on planes and going, not to London now, but to Australia and Canada and places where it's equally difficult to just get on a bus or a train or a plane and go if you want to every year. So, you know, I have a friend who has 2 children in Australia getting on with their lives, and they're communicating by Zoom, but it's not ideal, you know.
Indeed so. You became involved in music sort of back in the 1960s.
Oh well, now that was as a passenger.
Oh, okay.
I grew up. My schooling was all about music. I was in choirs. I was the leader of a choir. I sang in places like the Albert Hall. I had a wonderful musical childhood in that sense in England. And then in the 60s, I was just part of that whole, well, actually, that interesting bit about when everybody says, wasn't it wonderful, it was the swinging 60s. And my response to that is, if you think it was the swinging 60s, you weren't there. Because I worked hard in the swinging 60s, but I worked in Carnaby Street. So for me, I was in the milieu of all of that was going on. But I wasn't singing then.
Okay.
I was just going to gigs everywhere and anywhere. The Marquee Club in London was a haunt I frequented on a very regular basis. Um, it's interesting for me looking back that music was part of my life always, but I wasn't always involved in it.
Right. So when
The
did
doing
you
of it.
when did you become involved in doing the singing and recording and all that, Carmel?
When I started singing, I was 50.
Wow. Okay.
When I started singing professionally, I had been doing gigs with Fiacre Trench, my husband, and Keith Donald, who people will know from Moving Hearts. And we had been doing gigs together and having a really great time. And then I would jump in and jump out of it. And I was still bringing up kids and I was doing other jobs. And then they both kind of put the pressure on and said, no, you've got to do it properly now. So that's when I started. I started by making a record called Nice Girl, which was a mixture of jazz and contemporary music, and two of our own songs. And that was in 2007. That was a long time after we started gigging.
Right.
And that got such great reviews, I'm glad to say, that it sort of boosted us. We just went on doing gigs around the country, doing festivals. And then a few years later, I did a lovely album called Skylark. And that was dedicated to my mum, because my mum was wont to sing at the drop of a hat. I always describe her as a woman who sang when she was sad and sang when she was happy and sang all the times in between. And she sang a lot of would be traditional Irish songs, but when she sang what I called sort of the American songbook, she invariably went to Johnny Mercer. So I did an album called Skylark, which is a song she used to love. And they were all the songs of Johnny Mercer. And that was a gorgeous album, working with some great musicians. We are blessed on this island with, God, so much talent for a little small island.
Yes.
Shoved at the end of Europe, shoved out at the edge of Europe. And we have this monumental amount of talent here. And it is a wonderful, it's a wonderful place to be if you're in that way of creativity, because you bounce off so many people who are doing the same or likewise, and not necessarily always professionally. But there's always that kind of creativity milling around. It's wonderful.
It is.
We are lucky.
Absolutely fantastic. Now, you've since you've recorded 3 albums, and recently we've received a Christmas song from you. Cracking one it is.
Yes, on Christmas Eve, written by Don Maskell and Fiacre Trench. And I think, you know what I think is kind of special about it, because it has that kind of glistening. It's not a rocky roly Christmas song, but it's very much, it has that kind of feeling of the glisten, what I call the glisten of Christmas. We've had an horrendous year, haven't we just?
Indeed.
And I think we kind of need something that takes us back to the simplicity and the friendship and the camaraderie and the cooperation and the empathy and all those things that kind of got forgotten for a while, I think. And I think this song it's about memories of childhood, but it's about bringing those memories of childhood into adulthood and the love you feel for someone else. I mean, I just think it's a simple message, but beautiful.
Indeed so, absolutely, yeah, absolutely superb song. And I'll have to say, Don Maskell is an incredible songwriter.
Oh, he certainly is. We premiered this song at a lovely concert last year in the Limerick University Concert Hall. And, you know, he was surrounded by all the people he'd worked with or created songs with. And it was gorgeous. What a lovely evening. I mean, there was, I think, Paul Brady, Francis Black, Mike Reed from the States, Gary Brooker, Procol Harum, Brian Kennedy, myself, Fiacra. It was a gorgeous evening. And I have to say it was in November, and I thought, oh, good Lord, are people going to respond to this song? Because there's, you know, like, we're not there yet. But they just loved it. It was a great evening. It was a great evening.
Excellent, absolutely excellent. Listen, there's no sign of you stopping. You're going to continue. I know it's been a horrendous year, and you haven't been able to do live performances, but no doubt you'll be back in action as soon as it's safe to do so.
Oh, I will. In fact, this year we've done. We did a series. I think 7 songs. We have a studio at the house and a music studio, and it's run by our son Rian. And we did 4 of us got together, drummer, bass, Fiacra on piano, and myself, and we did, I think, about 7 songs, which are all on YouTube.
Excellent. So if you go on YouTube, have you YouTube Carmel McCreagh? You shall get them there.
Yeah, they're called the Meadow Sessions.
Excellent. Well done. You certainly weren't.
Yeah.
You certainly weren't letting things pass you by, even though it's been a tough year.
No, it's always there. And if you love doing it, and I do love doing it, I do it for that reason. When I stop loving it, I'll stop doing it.
Right.
Basically, or else I'll probably fall over, and then I'll stop doing it. But while I can, I will. And so just the idea of getting into the studio and doing some songs was just too hard to resist. So we did. Well, and we'll probably do some more in the new year.
Excellent, excellent. Well done, Carmel. Listen, it's been lovely to catch up with you. I wish yourself and hubby and the family, as good a Christmas and start to the new year as it can be. And listen, I'm looking forward to getting some more material from you, and you'll be out in action on stage once again as soon as it's safe to do so.
Absolutely, I will. Thank you so much for calling.